welcome to Catch Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modies. This podcast is about living and playing in the Florida Keys. I cover my favorite sport, fishing, but also all the many things to see and do down here in the islands. Thank you so much for tuning in, and now it's time to kick back and relax with me in the Keys. This week's episode of Catch Outdoors is number 158. Hello all. Hope you're about to have or have had a great day and a good week. Although some of you haven't, but we'll talk about that. We had some horrible storms. I guess most people are very much aware of that by now. Welcome to Season 4 of Catch Outdoors. You can listen to Catch Outdoors on most streaming platforms, but if it's missing from yours, please let me know, and I'll be glad to see if I can get it added for you. The title of this week's episode will be The Storm. Go figure. It affected a lot of us and a lot of other people unexpectedly. Some new stuff to announce. I've made some major changes to the Catch Outdoors website. It's now one simple single page. Yay! Makes things a little easier. Sorry about the paper rustling. My notes are in disarray this morning. Is it morning still? Yeah, it's Monday. Monday morning is when I'm doing this. You may need to refresh the page, by the way, for the new website. It gets pretty locked on, I noticed, on mine, especially on my laptop. So I had to go in and basically just get out of the page and get back in, and everything worked fine. So be aware of that. Go there to find the one link to all the podcasts, and you just click on it, and it directs you. I believe the master is off of Spotify, but it'll go to any of the services that you want to if you click on it. My books are also listed on the same page and much easier to navigate and hopefully to purchase. So get in there, people. Got some books left. I'm going to keep running that special. I'll talk about that in a minute. Decided by special request to once again add a title. I guess it helps sort it out, but in all honesty, there's much more to the title in the podcast, but it'll at least give you a direction on where to go and what to listen to, and I understand that. I started to look back at the old podcast, the 140s and 130s, and I'm like, what's on that podcast? So it'll rattle your brain if it's got a title on it, so I get that, and I did it. The future podcast will be quite a bit less structured, as you may have seen last week. Man, it ran long. I got up into the 40-minute area. That doesn't usually happen. I get to talking, people. You may also encounter a guest every now and then. I'm working on that part. I know Janelle's going to be on. Tourism's a big deal here, and she knows a lot about it. And so when stories come up and things happen, I'm going to try to get her on here with me. And then also any other special guests that I can think of that I'd like to have talk on the podcast. And we'll do it. We'll be doing it by a phone connection. So unless they visit, they may wind up on the show. Never know. And the one thing that's definitely staying is useless information. And I said for now, I'm toying with the idea of not doing it, but I got a lot of hate mail, and you can't do that. Well, yeah, I can. I invented it, so I can stop it. But it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's still there for right now. Tropical weather is now front and center. Not only did Florida get whacked, but so did the mountain areas of Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina, of which from my witnessing, North Carolina was by far and away the worst. Tennessee got it pretty bad too, and so did northern Georgia. But, Florida, everybody was focusing on Florida and the Panhandle, which also it's horrible. St. Petersburg Beach, the roads are still covered in sand, about 6, 7, 8. Well, some areas I saw about a foot of sand. And many of the resorts along the beach, pools are full of sand. I've seen that before. That used to happen out on Sanibel whenever we had a good storm. It would blow in and put sand in the pools. It's a mess. It's a real mess. We had quite the blow here in the Keys. It was kind of weird. It started out as it's going to pass by. And they originally put a tropical storm watch down at Key West up to about, I think it was Marathon, up to the 7 Mile Bridge. We weren't even included in it, nor was the east coast of Florida, Miami-Dade and Broward County. As the day and night wore on, we were put on a watch. And then I think by the next day is when we got our warning. And man, they weren't kidding either. It was really crazy. That the storm from us was roughly 400 miles away, out in the Gulf of Mexico. Yet we were getting feeder bands that were blowing with gusts of 60 miles an hour. So standard 30, 35 mile an hour wind, just constant, constant winds. Rain was kind of, I think, sparse. We got showers and we got some really good rain for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then it would stop. So there was no street problems here in Key Largo. It was trees and branches and stuff. And in our case, I'll tell you right now, there was nothing that a leaf blower wouldn't take care of after it was over. I mean, there was some twigs and some branches to pick up and get rid of, but mostly it just stripped the trees of leaves, as it usually does. Cars, boat, house is fine, and so were the neighbors. But as it moved north, of course, it went from a Cat 1 to a 4 pretty fast, and that's been happening in the Gulf. Things are warmer, water's warmer, it's soupy, and that's what these storms absolutely love. And it was a tight rotation, and there was nothing to get it sent any other way. As a matter of fact, I'm sure everybody knows by now the computers were right on the money with this one. They were very, very exact on where they thought it was going to go, and it did. It pretty much stuck right to the track. What nobody really expected was what happened next. And it rained so badly up there that all the rivers overflowed, and it washed out roads and bridges and houses and entire towns. I watched some of this video. It is mind-boggling. It's kind of that old thing. I'm not going to live in Florida. They have hurricanes. Well, guess what? So do the mountains. Now they do. I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen again, but now they do. And now they did. And it's really tragic. I was on checking highways and stuff this morning, and a great many major interstate highways are closed in Tennessee. I don't know about Tennessee. I know North Carolina. I think Tennessee did have one too. I know that but Interstate 40 is closed through the Carolinas, and 75 has got partial closing. But there are a lot of bridges missing too. And for those of you that haven't driven in the Carolinas, especially the mountainous areas of Carolina, it's not like the lowlands that we have along our eastern coast, like South Carolina, Georgia, and down here in Florida, where you pretty much drive a straight line and you can't go that way. Okay, you make a left, you go a few miles, and then you go straight again, go north again, for example. It ain't like that in the mountains. If you have a road out, it is a chore, a real problem to get from point A to point B all of a sudden, unless you have a helicopter. It's bad, really bad. And they're talking weeks to months to get some of these areas repaired because of where they're located. I think it was I can't remember if it was I-40 or half of I-75. I saw a picture of it. It washed halfway down a mountainside, half of it. I think it was the northbound lanes, but geez. So anyway, as a local point, Fort Myers Beach got it again, but not anywhere near as bad as Ian, but they got lots of water and they got lots of sand. They just came right up back onto the roads again after all the time has been spent getting it off the roads and getting it out of town. It's back. So much for beach building. My brother lives in Pine Island, and Pine Island is a barrier island just outside of Cape Coral. It's kind of between Cape Coral and Sanibel Captiva. And he had water in his garage and up to the first. He has stairs in the garage that lead up to the main house, and he had water on those stairs. I think he told me at the first or second stairs. And he lives, I'm going to say he's 8 feet or 9 feet above water level. The house itself, the lower level is. Because you come up, from the dock up a hillside across his pool and then up to the garage. It's a pretty good distance. So to have that much water is crazy, is what it is. And he just got past making all the repairs. Ian, is 2 years old now. 2 years now. 2 years in September. And a lot of these people had just gotten through with all the nonsense that goes on just to get your house rebuilt and put back together again. And away we go. Yeah, my brother, I think, selling his house. And I'm not joking about that. I'm not saying that jokingly. I think he's had it. And, I have to give everyone a take on this as far as it's pretty obvious that Mother Nature's pissed. And the weather, all of us have noticed what's going on now. What happened 20 years ago, especially when I was fishing guiding over there on the West Coast, we'd get storms, but they'd go past us, or if they came, they would be a Cat 1, maybe even a strong tropical storm. Until 2004 when Charlie came. Charlie was like the little switch went off. I think Charlie, that was the year of the 4 in a row devastating hurricanes. And Charlie was the first of them. And man, it was crazy. Put me out of business for a while. Can't be a fishing guide when the water's messed up. And also when the news is bad, nobody comes down to fish. So it's a double whammy. But as the years have gone by, we've had some slack time, and all of a sudden we've had this wild time. But what is pretty obvious, and my brother and I were talking about this on the phone the other day, what's really, really obvious now is if a storm gets in the Gulf, it turns wicked. It just turns wicked. That's all there is to it. There is no longer the storm that scoots across the Gulf towards the Panhandle, New Orleans, Texas, and just kind of stays the same as it goes. It's a Cat 1, it's Cat 1.5, that kind of thing. What most people feel is doable with hurricanes, not anymore. I mean, this one went to a 4, and the last one went to a 4, and Ian went to an almost 5. I think it was a 5. They were calling it a 4, but I think it was a 5. But so we've had this stuff now parked in the Gulf. The saving grace is that the Atlantic storms tend to have a tendency to turn north, and we on the East Coast over here and down in the Keys are quite lucky about that. But we know your luck's going to run out. I mean, anybody that lives on the beach knows that. My brother says he doesn't want to live on the water anymore. He's been living on the water for about 40 years now altogether. Canals, the Cape, and now Pine Island. But I understand. I get it. You get to a certain age where you don't want to repair crap anymore. You want to be retired. You want to take it easy and just relax. And that's not really possible. The only thing I want to point out is that because it's happening everywhere now. I mean, you could have left Florida and go, man, I'm going to higher ground. To hell with this. Back on Ian 2 years ago, I am done with this. I'm going to the mountains. I'm going to the mountains of Georgia. A lot of people from Florida, that's where they wind up. They love retiring up there because you still get warm weather and a mild winter. You don't get a winter that bowls you over up in Georgia above Atlanta. Blue Ridge is one of my favorite places that I've been to. I love that town. You move, right? And then a hurricane gets you and floods you out and wipes out your town. So it's like, I don't know. So here's the rule, I guess. I mean, if you want to get down to Brown, this is not tongue in cheek. I'm really thinking this. You're going to have to go out Midwest where there's no river. And even then you're going to deal with tornadoes, right? Tornado Alley. We know all about that. Fires, occasional fires, and earthquakes, which we don't get a whole lot of on this side. Over here down in the Florida area, certainly. Or in Georgia. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. You decide you're going to pack up all your stuff and you're going to take a new life and just go somewhere else. And that doesn't always work unless you're going to go well out west. I can't tolerate winter. So, people say, well, you could do South Dakota, North Dakota. You really could. That's a beautiful part of the country. The Badlands and all that. I mean, it's gorgeous. But there's no way in hell I can do winter there. No, I'm not going to go outside and have to put a heater on my engine on my truck to make sure it starts in the morning. Nope. The other thing that you run into with this, on the repair side is that most of us are too old to repair it ourselves, so we have to hire. And if you hire, you stand in line. If you're younger, your attitude's probably different about it. That you don't mind diving back in and fixing it and making it right and pray that the next one doesn't get you. So there is kind of that. There's also this huge possession thing. Most people are, they have this a certain amount of stuff. And boy, if you grew up in the 70s or 80s, you collected stuff because that was the thing to do. Who had the most toys wins was a bumper sticker and a T-shirt for a long time. He who dies with the most stuff wins. I don't really have that attitude. I mean, I have a lot of nice stuff, and I have a great stereo, and I have musical instruments and things that I really, really enjoy. But my life and my wife's life is much more important to that. And my kitty cats, load everything up, take one guitar and all the necessities, medicine, water, and cash and stuff and get the hell out of here. And if it goes, it goes. I mean, it's sad to think about that. But pieces and parts can be replaced. You can't. So always keep that in mind. But I don't, I might hook the boat up and take it with us. I'm not sure I'd do that. I just don't know if it's worth the trouble to have the boat behind us when you're trying to get out of the way of a storm. But, I've thought about that. You have to think about it when you live in an evacuation zone. You have to know that at some point it can happen. So we don't joke about it, but we do. I mean, we really do. We joke about it, but at the same time, on the other, we're looking out over one shoulder, going, "Ha, this is funny." Oh, I don't think so. I love the thought that this is the Waffle House joke. The Waffle House doesn't close for anything. The Waffle House is always open, and so the big joke in Florida that is, if the Waffle House closes, you had better not be here. And I think that's a valid one, though. I mean, that's very, very valid. So keep that one in mind. Watch what the Waffle House does. Back to the Allegheny and Blue Ridge Mountain stuff. I am really saddened. I spent a great deal of time up there in my youth and in my 20s, and my parents had a place up there in the mountains, and so I'm very familiar with it and very familiar with how beautiful it is up there. And it is just a mess right now. So it saddens me. It really does. And it'll be years and years and years before they get that put back together again. This was total devastation. And also understand, this is a really good point to make, for me to make to you. This wasn't wind, this was water. They had wind problems, no doubt about that. I mean, there's big trees up there, but this storm had gone down to a high tropical. What it was water. So much rain came out and hit their rivers that the rivers instantly overflowed. Heck, they almost lost a dam. And it obviously backwashes into all the towns that are parked along those rivers, getting back to waterfront property. I mean, that's kind of a different connotation here, but it is. And it's just sad. I have seen the aerial pictures, and places like Pigeon Forge. Oh my God, I love Pigeon Forge. You don't even recognize it from the aerial photograph. I can't even pick out where stuff is. So that saddens me a lot because I have spent time up there, and I hope those folks will pull through this and get better. And dare I mention, there's another storm brewing. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, back to real time today, now. Everybody's watching the Caribbean again, down around the Yucatan. There's another low building up, and it's got a great big yellow circle on it, which means it will probably mature. What's really scary about this one is the prediction of movement has not been established yet. The last storm, like I said, both the American and European models were saying, here's where it's going to go, and it did. Now the American and European storm computers have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. Some show it gathering strength and going straight up toward Colorado. Some of it shows it going up and then to the right again, right where the last one went. And some even show it turning toward the Fort Myers, Tampa Bay area. Now that's freaking scary. That's all I got to say. So we'll be watching this one closely. No name for it yet. The tropical report probably should be in today. I don't know if it's, I don't remember what the date was for the formation of this thing, but they know it's going to happen. And then out in the Atlantic, we have 3 storms. We have one named up way up. It's not any concern for us. And then we have 2 storms down low that are tracking northwest. And the computers are pretty consistent on these turning to the north as they cross across the Atlantic. So I always hate to say this, but look out Bermuda. Bermuda just seems to be like this poor little island's like a target out there in the middle of the Atlantic. So there's that. And while I'm talking weather, here's the bright side. It's been beautiful here. Post-storm has been amazing. The winds finally died. It's hotter than hell. I'm not going to tell you it's not hot, but the winds died. Sun's been up every morning and every night. We're getting sunrises and sunsets. That's not normal. Well, it's supposed to be normal, but it wasn't. What else? Oh, the humidity is cranking. Yeah. We're getting the heat index they give you a heat index warning. I think it's like 105 or 106. Our normal temperature is around 92 to 95 degrees in the summer, and it's dropping a little bit. We've had some 88s and 89s, but when you have a humidity that's really, really high, you don't notice that. You just notice that it feels like a sauna, and it feels like a sauna. It's horrible. And hopefully that will get better soon. We're almost in October. I'm recording this. This is the 30th of September. So by the time you hear this, it'll be the 2nd of October. So it'll be tomorrow. I'm sorry, the 1st of October. So hopefully we'll get it. We need a breath of fresh air. That's what we really need. So anyway, it has been real pretty here. Boating has been doable. People have been getting out. Fishing reports have been pretty decent. Janelle and I did a fishing trip out in the Atlantic yesterday on Sunday. It was fun. We had a really good catch and we had a really good time. It's always nice for me to get Janelle out of the house because I mean her home office is it's almost like that's her first home and this is her second home where we actually live. So it was nice to get her out and get out on the boat. The weather was perfect, so we did the Atlantic. We made the what I like to call the eastern run out of the Sound here and went out into the Atlantic. Tried a new spot. We did manage to get a mutton out of the new spot and some other fish. It was really an interesting place. And then we moved further out up in an old area that I like to fish, and we got several mutton, a giant pinfish like the kind you weigh, some mangrove snapper, grunts. And some really good-sized blue runners. I love catching blue runners when they school up. They're a blast on light tackle. They're kind of like a streamlined jack, if you don't know what they are. They're kind of a silvery fish, long. But, I mean, it looks like they belong in the jack family, but their body's not shaped right. It's more elongated. But they were kind of fun to catch. Water was discolored, really discolored. You couldn't see bottom in 8 feet. Now, out on the Patch Reef, that's crazy unusual. And I didn't hear any dive boat reports. We saw dive boats further out, and we saw them going out, usually out to the Spiegel Grove or to the Patch Reef's edge out there. I don't know if they were doing that because they were trying to avoid the messy water or what, but they certainly weren't stopping in where we were. They were going past us. So that storm really churned things up, and that's also highly unusual. Generally, our water settles within a day or two. So it was 3 or 4 days after the storm. Now I guess Sunday would be, about 3 days after the storm, and it was definitely noticeable that you couldn't see bottom. You could make out color changes, but you really couldn't tell what it was you were driving over. Kind of weird. We used shrimp. We used jigs. We cast shrimp out and let it drop slowly to the bottom and then bump the rod tip every now and then. That's how we were getting hookups. We didn't bottom fish. I've really changed my ways with that. The jig and shrimp thing seems to be working really well. If you want bottom fish and you get out deeper in 60, 70 feet of water, you're going to have to use a dropper rig, something with enough weight to keep it in line with the current. There's a lot of stuff that comes into play. But for the shallow water reef fishing, the patch reef fishing that we're doing, which is generally less than 20 feet, this jig system works great. And I'm using frozen shrimp for chum. I'm just taking frozen shrimp and breaking it into pieces and dropping it in the water, and it draws the fish right up off the bottom. So it doesn't seem to be a big problem. So I'm going to continue doing that and experimenting with other baits. I only use a dropper rig when I have to for deeper water. What else is happening in that regard? I think that pretty much covers it. Red mangrove experiment is ongoing, and the newest additions to my little farm are doing pretty well. They look happy. I went out. We gathered propagules last time we were out. That was last Sunday, and I got them planted before the crazy storm came. And the little guys weathered the storm, so everything seems to be fine. The trick of adding sand to potting soil works great to keep it anchored. Even though we got rain and wind, it did not bother the newly planted mangroves that I got going on. So I'll keep you updated on that. Something I wanted to pass along that I almost forgot about. There is a radio station that we listen to here throughout the Keys. Popular because of its news and information programs. It does oldies rock music. So it's 104.1, known as US1 radio down here. Comes out of Big Pine, I think is where they're based. So we can't pick it up on the radio here. Well, we can, but it's really difficult. But thanks to streaming technology, it's completely doable. We listen to it on iHeartRadio. But you can pick it up on, if you've got, I can't say her name because she'll talk right now. I have one of them in the room, but you know who I'm talking about, the one that listens to you all the time that you order stuff from. Yeah. If you go on that and ask for iHeartRadio US1 radio or iHeart 104.1 radio, it'll pop right up. The reason I'm telling you this is it's loaded with information in the morning. They have a special morning show Monday through Friday. Starts at 7:30 and ends at 9. And it's all about the local stuff going on in the Keys. It's really great. All the festivals, anything that might be happening, political news, money news, hurricane tropical news, all that kind of stuff is on this show. And it's very well done. And I enjoy listening to it. And it's a call-in show. So they have callers of all walks of life calling in from all the different things that people do in the Keys, talking about what's going on. So if you want to catch up on some Keysy stuff, that's a good way to do it. We do it because we don't get local TV. So if you turn on the television to try to get news, you get Miami news. And a lot of times you don't want to watch Miami news for many reasons. But they do not care about the Keys. The only time they care about us is there's some disaster going on, a huge traffic crash or a drug bust. That's about the only time you see us mentioned up there. So that's where the radio comes in. And it's kind of interesting, I think, to backtrack to radio. Most people don't listen to radio as much as they used to. They rely on local news, and we don't have that. So it's turned me in a different direction as far as what I listen to, and I thought I'd recommend it. And I meant to do this several weeks ago. I just kept forgetting until today. I was listening to it going, boy, people should listen to this. This is really cool. If you want to know what's going on down here, it's excellent. So. And on the newsy tidbit thing, let's see. Snook fishing opened in the Keys officially back on, no, it did not. It opens tomorrow. God, even my days are whacked. October 1, snook fishing's open tomorrow. Ladies, Let's Go Fishing's returning to the Keys on October 18th through the 20th. If you want to go, you better book it. I understand it's filling up. Well, I think it might be close to full, but give it a try. It's going to be in Tavernier again this year. That's where it was last year. I had a blast speaking at it, and I will be there again on Saturday. So looking forward to that. That's October 18th through the 20th. You can get more information at ladiesletsgofishing.com. I mentioned this earlier. I have special bundle pricing on my books, on my 3 previous releases, and $45 for all 3, including shipping. It's a bargain. You can go to Catch Me Outdoors. Yeah, well, it's me too. CatchYouOutdoors.com, and the books are on there. And the group pricing for the 3 books are on the page. You just click on it, and they'll take care of it, and I'll ship them out to you. Those books will be signed. The titles are What I Know About Fishing Southwest Florida, Bridge to Paradise, and Take a Kid Fishing. The new book is also on there, listed on there, so check it out. That's What I Know About Fishing the Florida Keys, strangely enough. Let's see, what else is going on here? Oh, my song list on iTunes is now up to 7 titles, soon to be 9. One of the new ones is a mushy love song. I believe that's what my producer Billy called it. He's right, it is. It's a mushy love song. And the other as well, let me say this. I don't want to give the title away totally yet. I was blown away by our drummer's comments and texts that he sent me after he heard the rough cuts. And he said, man, that's really Springsteen-like. Well, honestly, people, that just knocked me off my stool. I was like, what? No, you can't do that. I'm not a Springsteen by any stretch of the matter. So to hear him say that really felt good, to be honest with you. And so he showed me. He added a drum riff to it that is really awesome. And we were working hard on that one. So those 2 should come out, you know how that is, late this week, maybe next week. So we'll just see how it's going. But it's going together really quickly. In all honesty, I'm getting better and better at the studio stuff. It's just, I know what needs to be done. I know what parts have to be put together, and I know what has to be said in the song. And I know specific beats and things that are happening to make it sound good. And that's a whole lot different than what I did when I first started this. So it's just like anything else. As you progress, you get better and better at it. And not to mention, I really enjoy doing it. So there you go. My latest article will be out. The October article in Coastal Angler magazine will be out tomorrow. You just basically go to Coastal Angler Mag on the web if you aren't in the area, and just click on the Keys edition, and my story will be in there. And if you're in the local area, pick it up. It's available for free all over the place, as I like to say. So, on the fishing front again, I had a thought I missed during the bait talk. I'm going to get back to fly fishing. The wind stops blowing, and it has. Fingers crossed. Again, it does. A lot depends on the wind, and a lot depends on the storm that's coming up. I'm not going to go out there, like I said, and whack myself with the fly. And I also don't take it along when Janelle joins me. I just don't. I don't know. I don't see the point. I like spin fishing. I don't want to hit her with a fly, and that's that. I just don't want to do that. But as things come up, I've created a couple new concoctions, some little lightweight small flies that I want to try on the mangrove snapper that live along the mangrove edges in the backcountry. So I'm going to give them a try and see what they do. I love that. I love sitting at the vise, creating something different. So it's finally October. When you listen to this, it will be. Please, Lord, bring us some cool weather. I mean, good Lord. I know that's a big time wish. I went back and looked in my diary and my logbook for the boat for last year at this time, and it was still hot, so whatever. What generally happens first is we have a low humidity comes in, and that's the first sign that things are going to get better. The air dries out. And that last year happened around the 15th of October. And I also had a fantastic October, November for bird migration. It was just incredible. In the backcountry, I loved watching the birds. I love watching them come in from up north. We get everything from songbirds to even water birds like white pelicans and stuff like that. And it was on fire last year. They came in all at once for about a 2-week period. A lot of them are on their way somewhere else. So you have to remember, some of them they're making a stop here in the Keys as a water rest stop before they move on to Cuba and then down into South America. So it's really extraordinary. And I love this time of year for that. So please make the humidity go away, would you? And just give us a little cool weather. Not to mention that October also means that the bite in the backcountry is going to get stupidly good. And I like that too. Fishing was tough this year. I mean, I'll add this little addendum on here. I had a rough time, and so did many, many other people fishing in the back. Unless you are a net thrower for whitebait, you would struggle. If you could get whitebait, then fine. But those of us that primarily artificial and fly fish, it was really tough. The people that had the absolute best time were the people that were in the big offshore boats. I have a little boat. I'm not doing that. They were out 200 to 300 feet of water, and they were doing great. Mahi and wahoo and big grouper off the bottom and stuff like that. So, I mean, they had a great time. And I was reading reports going, man, you all are so lucky. You can go out in 3 to 4 footers. I can't. But anyway, I just wanted people to know that the fishing was rough for me and others in the backcountry and in the shallow water areas, but it was not that way in the offshore waters. The offshore waters was pretty much on fire. No, I don't need a bigger boat. What I have is fine. I seriously love the backcountry, so I'm just going to keep it that way. All right, it's time for useless information, so let's get to it.
And now, from the original book of useless information.
You are a reject! You are useless! You can get a job down here cleaning toilets!
Here's your host, Captain Rob Modes.
He swears up and down he's useless, but
he might be all right eventually, but completely useless.
With useless information.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. From gastronomic history. That's food. The food of the Greek gods was called ambrosia. Imagine that. There's a dish called ambrosia. The chocolate chip cookie was invented in 1933. one of my favorites. Blueberry Jelly Bellies were created especially for Ronald Reagan. I happen to love Jelly Bellies too. I have to stay away from them now as much as possible, but every now and then I fall back, so. And last but not least, California's Frank Epperson invented the popsicle in 1905. He was only 11 years old. That's pretty awesome. That's all for now. All until next week. We'll bring it back again, I promise. And before I go, some final words. Again, welcome to Season 4. Glad you're here. And also, the numbers were fantastic. Thank you all for listening. It was really impressive to see how many of you did listen, and I love that. October's here, and it's one of my favorite times of the year, especially for fishing. October, November are just, it's when the things light up in the back. So if you get a chance to get out and fish and you're a Floridian, you're down this way on either coast, this is the time you want to go. And also bass fishing. I mean, it gets really seriously good in the center of the state this time of year. So if you get the opportunity, by all means, do it. If you want to travel south and visit Florida, this is a good time. You get to late October and into early November. It's a great place to be. Our temperatures have cooled off. We have light breezes, and the beach becomes quite an enjoyable place for you. To all the people that I know in Florida that suffered from the storm, and to the people certainly up in the mountains that suffered in the areas that I'm familiar with, I hope everything gets better for you soon. I hate to say it, we got to keep an eye on another one, but that's okay. That's what we do. So everybody take care. Please have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Facebook page is Catch Ya Outdoors. The website's catchyaoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and news about books and my music. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.